You're listening to the Level Up Lounge podcast.
Level up.
Level up. Level up.
Level up.
Level up. You're listening to the Level Up Lounge podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to the Level Up Lounge, episode number 5. We have an awesome show today for you guys with Dave Kovar as our special guest. I am psyched. I was so excited he could find time to sit down with us and discuss some different ways to help your instructional team at your school to deal with some of those, I don't want to say problem kids, but some of the kids that pose challenges during your class, and just some great overall information for us to take our martial arts school and our team to the next level. So I'm really excited to hear from him, and I'm excited for you guys to hear from him. And I'll say this again at the end of the podcast, but I would highly recommend having your staff or your instructional team sit down and listen to this interview, because they're going to get so much out of it. It's going to be such a useful tool for them. Also, we have our triple kick segment.
Triple kick.
As you guys know, if you've been listening for a while now, every week we feature 3 martial arts products or services that we do full reviews on to let you know what's the best stuff in the business to be using to help grow yourself and grow your school. Today we'll be featuring 3 items. We're going to go over the Hyper Backpack, the Superstar for Life Character Development Program, and then lastly we're going to be going over Nick D's Get Your Together in 30 Days course. And I'll be sort of explaining how I've used all 3 of those things and what I really like about those after the interview. But right away, let's jump in with the man, Dave Kovar. All right, guys, I am super excited. We are here with Master Dave Kovar. If you're in the martial arts world and you don't know Dave Kovar, you've been hiding under a rock. He's known as the teacher of teachers. We are really excited to have him on our show and really grateful that he can be here. Master Kovar, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, we really appreciate you taking the time out to share your knowledge and insight with us. And just in case people aren't familiar with you for whatever reason, could you give us a little history lesson on your background in the martial arts?
Sure. So, it's probably in the mid-'60s. I'm like, 4, 5, 6 years old. I'm driving somewhere with my folks, and I see a billboard of it's like a silhouette of a guy doing a flying sidekick, and I didn't know what it was, but I knew that's what I wanted to do someday, right? And so in the early, 1971, I started wrestling in junior high in 7th grade, and a couple years later, I started karate, and I never, about 6 months out of high school, in November of 1978, I kind of fell into a school, and I've never really done anything else besides this. So I opened up my first school. Like I said, this is going on 39 years I've been teaching martial arts, and in the process, it's still my passion. So, some people golf, I still, my hobby is training, whatever it might be. It might be grappling or sparring or weapons. And so in the process of that, we kind of struggled for several years. In the late 80s, after the Karate Kid came out, the kids, what martial arts for kids just kind of exploded, right? And my brother, older brother Tim, who I think you might remember when you were younger, was my business partner for 20 years. Him and I, we just blew up. And by the early 90s, we had legitimately 903 members at our one location, and then we started expanding. And just over time, although my brother retired about 8 or 9 years ago, we kept it going. We have a chain of schools in Sacramento, and we coach schools all over the world. I spend a lot of time doing instructor colleges and business events for school owners, and so life is good.
That's amazing. And I have to say, I've been going to your seminars since I was a little kid. My parents owned a martial arts school when I was growing up, so we were always going to EFC conventions or having you out at our school. And I have to say, I still remember things that you taught me when I was like 10, 11 years old about instruction. And I know that a lot of what you taught me has really shaped me as an instructor today. And I still teach the things that you've given me to our staff and the instructors that I've trained over the years as well. What made you want to transition from the school owner role to like the mentor and teacher for other martial arts school owners?
Well, first off, thank you. I'm glad that the seminars helped. But for me, what happened was in back to the early '90s. We have way more students than we can handle, and we're kind of starting to train instructors, but we really don't know how to do it, right? Because there's no really system for doing it. Sure. I mean, there was certainly a system for training black belts, but as far as how to teach, there's a big difference, as you know. And so we kind of did, so what my brother and I did is sat down, we kind of penciled out the stuff that we were already doing and kind of put it into a format, and ended up putting together a video series called How to Teach Martial Arts to Kids. I think we launched it in 1993. And it was quite popular at the time. We sold thousands of copies to school owners, and that was kind of the start of when we kind of started helping and coaching other schools. A few years later, we came out with what was called the MAC manual. It was the Martial Arts Career Training Manual that was kind of a 10-week instructor training course, and then from there, it was never really a conscious effort. It was just kind of one of those things. You'd go to an event and someone would say, hey, will you talk about teaching? And then over the last decade, it's kind of evolved into a pretty systematic approach. We recently launched actually our International Martial Arts Instructors Association called the Satori Alliance, which is basically we're really excited about it. It's really a very sophisticated, cutting-edge online instructors training program, basically. And there is a live testing version at the end if you'd like. It has nothing to do with how to throw a punch or how to throw a kick. It's everything we've done at instructors' colleges, but in more detail. It's very comparable to taking an online college program. And so we're super excited about it. We're getting great feedback. But what's really happened is I've got a team of guys around me that have really taken kind of some of the original work that my brother and I have done and just kind of taken it to the next level. So, that's kind of where my passion is. You and I both know, because you've been in the trenches. You've done nothing but martial arts your whole life. You've seen it happen. You've seen the transformation that happens when people train in martial arts. But the deal is, if the transformation doesn't happen if someone trains for 2 weeks or 2 months, they might remember something, that they can bring with them for life. But the real benefit of martial arts training is in long-term training, right? It's the lifestyle. And the only way you're going to keep somebody by training with you for a really long time is if you have the ability to retain them as a student. And that there's a lot that goes into that, right? And so that's what we try to kind of the core of our kind of the message is, hey man, the instructor-student relationship is sacred, and you've really, every time you step on the floor, you've really got to be at your best, and you can't afford to kind of take your students for granted. I see a lot of times I go places and I get the chance of traveling. Last year I was gone 100 days, a year, last year, and I was in a lot of schools and a lot of really good schools, by the way. But what I see is the correlation between success is not as much really in the style people teach. It's not as how clean their school is, how slick their advertising is, how good they're on Facebook. All those things are important, to be sure, right? But what I see is the schools that are successful, not just for a few weeks or a few years, but for a long time, are people that really understand that their product is the classroom, and that from bell to bell, from the time they bow in to the time they bow out, that they're running an A quality classroom, and that takes it's not easy, man. There's a lot that goes into that. Both you have to mentally get yourself up, and you have to have the tools to be able to do it as well.
That's awesome. It leads to the next question that I wanted to ask you. I've been to many of your seminars. You always have tons of great energy, and being at your seminar, it really becomes contagious. So what advice can you give to martial arts instructors when they're having a bad day, they're feeling tired or feeling under the weather? How can they still manage to teach with a lot of energy on those days when they're just not feeling it?
Yeah, it's a great question, and first and foremost, I think what's really important is that, everybody has their own teaching style, right? You don't want to be anybody else. You want to be the best version of yourself, right? And I know I at one time went and watched a guy teach years ago. This would have been, 25 years ago, and I was blown away with this guy, man. He was crazy good. And I went back to my school and I tried to be that guy, and it just didn't work because I'm not that guy, right? So once I realized that, because there's different guys that have different levels of energy, and so I don't know, so I think first and foremost is it's really taking good care of yourself beyond the classroom. In other words, if you're running hard all day, you've got a million things going on, you didn't eat right, you didn't sleep really good the night before, you're getting through the evening by drinking a couple of Red Bulls before class gets started, you're dehydrated, well, guess what's going to happen? That's only going to take you so far. And you're going to shut down, right? But you know what it's like, how hard it is to teach classes back to back, day after day, week after week. That's a real talent. And so you have to start by really making sure that you pace yourself, right? Like one of the things that I'm a big proponent of is the power nap, man. Because I get to work early in the morning, and sometimes I'll go to various schools. I'm not in the trenches like you are late in the evening, probably as much as I once was. It's only once or twice a week anymore that I'm really there later. But is that I make sure to take a nice recharge in the afternoon that gets me through the evening, right? And then hydration, etc. But then here's the other thing: it's a combination of a couple things. Number one is making sure that we're mindful of the instructor's creed. And I'm going to say it one time, you probably know it, but I'll teach this class because it's the most important class I'll ever teach. I am patient and enthusiastic. I lead by example. So just remember that every time you step out on the floor, you've got students that are out there on the floor that are one day away, one mediocre class away from quitting. And they're one great class away from getting re-motivated. So if you have a class of 20 students, when you step out there on the floor, I think it's important that you look around and you think, you know what? One of these people, I don't know which one or two or maybe three are starting to lose interest. And my job today is to try to refire everybody up, right? And maybe you're not always going to do that, but that's your intent. Then the second thing is that I'm a big fan of team teaching, meaning it's really hard to sustain that level of energy for 5 hours a night. You know what I'm saying? You can do it, 1 or 2 days, but man, eventually it's going to catch up to you. That's why I think it's so important that you train your team so you can go in there, man, and just, put your spirit into a big chunk of the class, and then you can let somebody else kind of, take over the lead while maybe you're, pacing or talking with parents, etc. And that kind of a pace, when you're doing team teaching, you can prolong that indefinitely. You know what I'm saying? Because you're working in breaks in the process. And I think a lot of people with instructors training is they see people that maybe could be good instructors someday, but they're not ready yet, so they don't get them out on the floor and start helping. And I think what's really important is you plant a lot of seeds early with people that could someday be good instructors, then start having them help a little at a time, even maybe before they're ready. You're not having them run a class, but you're getting them out there, kind of getting them comfortable with various aspects of the classroom. And then what happens is that pretty soon, not pretty soon, it takes a few years to do this, but all of a sudden you're going to have this bench with lots of people that have been doing this for a long time, and it makes your job a lot easier because then you don't have to carry the whole load yourself.
I love how you're reading my mind and creating natural segues into my next questions. The great thing is we didn't even plan this out.
No, we haven't.
So I know that a big challenge in many martial arts schools is staff development. And from talking to many school owners, I feel like many of them are hesitant about handing over responsibility to their staff members because they feel like the staff just can't do the job as well as them. Is there any advice that you can give to school owners that are struggling with this aspect of staff development?
Yeah, I totally can identify. I used to have the mindset if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself, right? Sure. And that is a really limiting mindset. That's going to keep you from growth. And so one of the things that people forget is that people don't all of a sudden step out one day excellent instructors. Just like, there's no doubt, it's been a long time since I've seen you teach, but there's no doubt that I'm sure you're an excellent instructor, But you didn't just step out your first time teaching and be an excellent instructor. That was a skill. That was a honed craft. And so it takes patience from, a master instructor to really kind of bring their people along. And why it's so super important. I already kind of touched on it, but a lot of people will wait until they realize they need somebody. Oh man, I need an instructor like tonight. Who, and they'll look out on their floor and they're looking for their brown or black belts. Who can they use right now, right? But the issue is what we have to do. It's really hard to fix a short-term problem. Like you need somebody right now. That's kind of hard. There's ways you can do it, but what you can do right now is you can plant seeds for 3 years from now, because 3 years from now the same issue is going to be there. So the whole idea is I would strongly encourage people to to look out into their student body right away for people that someday could be a good instructor. You know, they might be a 13-year-old kid right now. You know what I'm saying? You know, they could be, you know, someone that's going to junior college around the corner and just started, has no experience. But you look at them and think, this could be a good instructor someday, and plant the seed early. So I could walk up and, you know, I could, you know, just literally, I say, hey man, I just want to let you know, I know you've only been training for a couple of weeks. I love your energy. And you ever thought about being a martial arts instructor? They're almost always going to say, of course, no, I haven't. But and of course, my response is, well, of course, you know, you're not ready to do that. You just started. However, you know, if you keep doing what you're doing, you come to class on a regular basis, put your spirit into it, help out where you can, I'm going to keep an eye on you. I think someday you could be a good instructor. And I want you to think of this as not just a hobby, but think of it as a possible career option. Think of it as night school. And, you know, the rule of thumb for me is if you plant 10 seeds, one's going to blossom. You know what I'm saying? And that's really the best way to go about doing it. And the next thing is to have a really formal type of training, right? And so instructors training, like whether it be you meet once a month with all your people that you're that you're grooming for the next round of the you know, the teaching, and you get them together on a Saturday afternoon and you talk through teaching theories and concepts, and you know what I'm saying, just kind of, and then you get them helping out maybe one class a week on a limited basis, and then as they become more comfortable and more confident, you give them a little more responsibility, and so you can just ease them into it, you know, rather than trial by fire. Most people, they throw somebody out there that's had no experience, and boom, all of a sudden they're teaching all the classes, and they're going to learn, you know, a lot. They're going to do a lot of things wrong initially, which would cost students. But if you do it kind of slow and easy over time, it's a really peaceful transition, and it always works better.
I think that most of the school owners and instructors that are listening, a lot of us have gotten started teaching the martial arts through trial by fire. And I think that's why it's still happening so much nowadays, because school owners now think it's okay to do it because that's the way that they got started, and hey, they turned out okay.
Exactly.
Obviously, what you're telling us is what I hope a lot of martial arts schools are doing, is understanding that it's not about a short-term fix, but instead to think more of the long-term and think about how you can develop and build them up instead of just throwing them out there.
And then another really good strategy that we found incredibly successful, if you've been in business for an extended period of time, is look at your inactive roster, inactive list. There's inevitably some student that quit to go away to college when they're 18 or 19, that's now 23, that college didn't work out, they've moved back home, they're working mowing lawns or, you know, at Taco Bell or something, that are a conversation away from getting into your school. And so we found that to be a very beneficial method of generating staff members, is look at old, because the thing about that is they kind of grew up in your school, they kind of understand your culture, and they're an easier fit than hiring somebody from the outside, which you can do as well, it's just a little harder.
That's great advice. One of the questions that I received from a client on Facebook was about a student they have with ADHD. They're struggling with getting that child to focus and listen, and they feel like it's a consistent struggle every class, no matter who the instructor is. I know that many school owners have that one student that gives them a hard time in their classes. What is some advice that you can give these instructors that are struggling with the same child every class, and how do they bring out the most in that student?
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Just kidding. Couldn't resist. Had you going for a minute. You know, I think I've never been diagnosed, but I think I have ADHD. Seriously, you know, it's like I think my attention span is very short, and it's given me a little more empathy for students that I see. So here would be my advice to those instructors that are out there. Is there's a great quote that goes like this: "Do not fear moving forward slowly, only fear standing still." And what that means is remember, we've got these kids for twice a week for 45 minutes, man. They're not gonna be perfect. There's you know, so what you're looking for is progress, okay, not perfection. And so the first thing I would say is if somebody was in that situation, let's say you've got a kid that's been with you for 9 months, man, you know, they just are still a challenge. First thing I'd ask myself is, are they better than they were 7 or 8 months ago? And if the answer is yes, then proceed forward. Right? In other words, you know, as long as they're getting better, there's nothing that myself or anybody else can tell you that will cure it instantly. But there are a few things. So that's the first step. The second step is really, a lot of people don't plan their classes as well as they could, so their classes kind of end up being boring. And so, one of the things that I would strongly encourage people to do is make sure that the week before, man, the night before, you sit down and you plan out your class. And okay, we're working front kicks and self-defense techniques. It gets bear hug tomorrow. Now, what can I do to make sure that class is super high energy, super exciting? How can I tweak it a little bit? How can I disguise repetition so that it's so entertaining and exciting that it holds that kid's interest longer than otherwise? So that's the first thing that I would do, from a strategic standpoint. The next thing, we call it dealing with challenging kids. This is a strategy that I've found that's been really beneficial, is let's just say you're the guy. And so I say, hey, Adam, you're that kid. And when you come in, rather than you walking in and me deciding, all right, man, I'm going to show that. I'm going to dominate Adam. I'm going to put him in his place. I'm going to keep him in line today. That may or may not work. But when you come in, the first thing I do is make it a point to build rapport with you. And to me, what that means is really try to like that kid. Really try to like that hard student to work with. Okay, and how do you do that? You have empathy for their situation. Here's a guy that has he may have some kind of learning disabilities, may not have a lot of friends, may have a rough home life. Parents have to bring him to us. This kid, he's struggling, and I'm going to do my best to really befriend him. So that's step number one, because if you can build rapport with him, which basically means you like him and he likes you, I think our students should respect us, but I also think they should like us, because think about it. If you went to school with a teacher that you didn't like, you had a teacher at school you didn't like, you didn't try harder for that teacher.
Sure.
And so the same thing applies. If we can get these guys, first and foremost, to want to please us, that's step number one. So build rapport, step number one. Build number two is give them clear expectations and feedback. And what that means is now you come in and you're that kid, okay? I'm going to walk up and I'm going to say, hey, Adam, hey, buddy, good to see you, man. Hey, you remember how last week I tried to get you to stand still for 20 seconds? You couldn't quite do it? Well, I'm counting on you, man. I know you can do it. I'm going to be watching for you. Let's see if we can do it today. All right, so I give them an expectation. Either you do it or you don't do it. But the worst thing that can happen is if you stand straight, not just for 20 seconds, but for a minute, and then I'm not there to acknowledge you until you start messing up, and then I'm all over you, right? So what I got to do is I got to be there. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You did it. Or, hey, buddy, that was only 10 seconds. So in other words, I'm giving you clear expectations, but then I'm giving you feedback, good or bad. And then step number 3 is catch them doing things right. And what that means is I've got to train my eye when you come in, rather than looking for you to mess up so I can make you do push-ups or take your belt away. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look for anything that you do correctly that I can be there to acknowledge. And then those things aren't going to cure the kid overnight, but it's going to make a difference. And there's nothing you can do to change someone else, but you can change the way you relate to that person, which could have an incredible effect on their performance during class. So, and one other little quick story that really that one of my instructors told me that really changed my perception on things when it comes to this. So one of my instructors is a guy named Chad Shepard. He's a super high-level guy, runs one of our locations, the rock and star instructor, and he had this situation where this kid comes to class, and it's his first class, and he's that shy kid, can't get him to do anything, so he's kind of standing there on the mat and won't really engage with the class and won't do much. He's just kind of there, right? And
Sure.
So Chad is getting so frustrated. Now, who's he getting frustrated with? He's not getting frustrated with the kid. He's getting frustrated with who? Himself, because he feels like, man, I thought I was a better teacher than this. Why can't I get this guy to perform better, right? And so class finally ends, and he's going to walk over and he's going to apologize to the dad. And before he can, the dad pops up, walks out on the mat, shakes his hand, says, man, I just want to thank you. No one's ever been so patient with my child ever before. Now, I share this story with you because the perception from the outside when you've got a squirrely kid or this kid in this class that's really shy and won't move isn't wow, that instructor isn't very good. The perception is, look at how patient that instructor is. So when you look at it from that perspective, it kind of changes things, because you're not always going to be able to control someone 24/7. You know what I'm saying? But
Sure.
as long as you're patient and encouraging, and of course, if you have to have a hard talk and have them have a timeout or whatever, you can certainly do that as well. It's just that you don't want to go there too soon. You always want to try to use influence before you use authority.
That is awesome advice. I'm going to make sure our staff listens to this as part of their training. I have one more question from Facebook, and then we have a few quick-fire questions that we ask all of our guests. So Stefan Reinstein, which I know a lot of our listeners know from his company, Marketing Muscles, has this question. How do you build a successful culture in martial arts schools, meaning something that both students and parents can be proud of?
It's a great question, and when I have the answer, no, I'm just kidding. I think I have an idea. This is more art than science, really, running a martial arts school. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's some rules that you need to follow, but there's very few absolutes in my experience. So I think it starts with your team, and I have 6 words that really sums up, what we do with our teams, and that is the first 2 are hire right, the second 2 are train right, the third 2 are treat right. So I'm going to start by making sure that I hire the right person. Okay, and this is where a lot of people go wrong. The person isn't quite what they're looking for, but they hire them anyway because it's the best choice they have. And sometimes you got to do what you got to do, but it kind of goes back to if you build that bench and you're always working on staff development, you're going to have a broader selection to choose from, right? And so if you don't hire right, it's kind of like you have moldy bread. You can put you can put whipped cream on or whatever you want to put, or peanut butter and jelly, but you cover it up with a cherry, but it's still moldy bread, right? So you start out with the very best product, the person you can, and then you train right, and that is you take the time to really make sure that they understand the culture you want, the teaching strategies, right? And then, but that alone isn't enough, because if you do that and then you treat them like junk, then they're going to pass that on to your students, so you're going to have a hard time developing the culture, or they're not going to stick with you very long. So the third step is, just to take your team, that group around you, and treat them right as well. If you can do that, then that permeates into the culture. The culture always starts with the team. You can't expect your students to behave a certain way if you're not getting your staff to do it, and you can't fake that. You can't fake someone that sincerely believes in their company and sincerely wants to help out the students. That's got to be something that's that is you really mean. And so once again, hire right, train right, treat right. That would be my answer to that.
That's awesome. And I'm assuming incorporated in treat right is making sure that you're paying your instructors
Absolutely.
a way that's going to make them stay.
Absolutely. Yep. There's going to be some people that no matter how bad you treat them or how good you treat them, they're not going to leave. They're going to be with you forever. And there's going to be some people, no matter how good you treat them, they're going to leave anyway. It doesn't matter. But there's the majority of the people, you just don't give them a reason to leave, and they won't.
That's awesome.
By treating them and paying them, etc., as best you possibly can.
That's great. I really love all the amazing insight that you're giving us. We always like to end our interviews with 3 fun, quick-fire questions with our guests. So first, what is your favorite martial arts movie of all time?
Enter the Dragon, hands down. Saw it 37 times in a movie theater before it even came out on video.
That's such a great movie. All right, second, what is your favorite song to work out to? The one that, it's your pump-up song. It gets you through your workout.
That's a great question. I would be totally dating myself if I told you what it was.
We know you're 25. It's cool.
Yeah, that's right. It would probably be, it's not even a traditional workout song, but for really hitting the bag and feeling the charge, it would be Back in Black by AC/DC.
That's a great song. I don't think that dates you at all.
Yeah.
I think that's actually a pretty popular song to work out to for a lot of people.
Cool.
All right, lastly, Dave, what is your favorite book at the moment?
Definitely Tools for Titans by Tim Ferriss.
I've heard so many people say a lot of great things about that book.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that I'm going to be reading for a really long time. First off, it's friggin' crazy. It's 600 pages, but it's gems. It's a condensed version of all his podcasts, and I'm just soaking it up, and I'm going to read through it. So this is probably going to be my book for the next several months, as a matter of fact.
And if we have listeners that want to follow you and be able to connect and get information from you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, well, first off, on Facebook, I'm at Dave Kovar. Kovar Systems on Facebook, or you can go to kovarsystems.com to check out all the stuff that we have to offer as far as when it comes to coaching schools and business systems. And then the product I'm super excited about is our new martial arts association called the Satori Alliance, and you can get to it by going to Satori, SATORI, Alliance, ALLIANCE.com. And it's our online training program, and it's pretty friggin' amazing if I don't say so myself. And those are probably the best places to get a hold of us.
Perfect. And then one thing that we like to do for all of our guests is to make a professional DJ mix of their favorite workout songs. And as you know, I own a music streaming company, and we have it professionally mixed. We take care of all the licensing, and we give it to you as sort of a thank you for taking time out to be on our show and sharing your knowledge with us. We want to give you something that you can share with your followers as well.
Wow.
So I'll be in contact with you in the next week or so. We'll get that figured out so that way
Cool.
we can start sharing that.
All right. Thanks, man. Well, best of luck, success to you, and it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yes, and thank you so much for being on the Level Up Lounge. I know that so many people are going to get some great knowledge from our interview, and I really, really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure, man. Take care.
Man, I love Dave Kovar. He is a wealth of knowledge and information, and his experience and his success in the martial arts industry is so great to be able to just tap into that and get some insight from him. Again, if you haven't yet, please make sure you have your instructors and your staff listen to the interview. As you could hear, there's a lot of powerful information in there that can help transform your school for the better. Next, I want to move on to our Triple Kick segment.
And now it's time for the Level Up Lounge Triple Kick.
All right, this week in the Triple Kick, as always, we have 3 items we're reviewing. First item is the Hyper Martial Arts Athlete Backpack. So I was super excited when this backpack came out. I believe it came out like about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. The day it came out, I went online and purchased it. It is awesome. You can fit all your weapons in there. You can fit everything. So just to give you an idea, I'm always big about testing things out. First day I got this backpack, I had wanted to see exactly how much stuff it would fit and still be able to wear comfortably. So here's what I put in it. Get ready. It's a lot of stuff. So I had 1 pair of kamas. I had 2 pairs of nunchakus in here. I was able to fit 2 swords. There's actually spots on the part that goes against your back for swords to fit. So it looks like you're like Leonardo from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or just a badass carrying 2 swords walking down the street. So I had all those weapons in it. I had my workout clothes in there. I had my like grooming bag for like after I take a shower at the gym. I also had all of my music production equipment in there because I was getting ready to go meet up with my friends and collab on a song. So I had my MacBook Pro in there. I had my my Scarlett USB drive, which is like an interface that goes along with my audio software. I had all the cords for my computer. I had my external hard drive. I had a drum machine in the backpack as well. And I had a microphone, the cord for the microphone. I had my water bottle in there. I know I had some pens and a notebook in there because I carry my notebook with me everywhere. But as you can see, like this thing was packed full of stuff, and I was still able to wear it comfortably on my back, and I didn't feel like a kid walking into his freshman year of high school carrying his whole life on his shoulders. So I definitely recommend check out the Hyper Backpack. I still have the exact same one that I used today. I've taken it all over the country with me. It is amazing, guys. Check it out. Again, the Hyper Martial Arts Athlete Backpack. It is the best backpack you can find for martial artists. Second thing I want to review is the Superstar for Life Character Development Program. So this is something that was launched at MABS, so it's the Martial Arts Business Summit, a couple months ago. Brand new character development program for your martial arts school. And I know there's other ones out there. Here's what I really like about this one. It gives instant social proof for your school that the character development techniques that you're teaching are being put into use by your students. So one of the first schools to jump on this had over 50 parents sharing things on social media about things that their children were doing to go along with the life skills they were learning at this martial arts school. So that's huge. There's nothing better than a social proof or testimonial from someone that goes to your school, and that's a great way to be able to market really what's being taught at your school besides the kicking and punching aspect. So again, the program is called Superstar, the number 4 Life, and you guys can check out their stuff at superstar4life.com. It is an awesome character development program and really delivers in a way that a lot of other character development programs do not deliver in by actually getting your students to take action. And you guys will love it. Definitely check it out, though. It's awesome. All right, last thing that I want to review with you guys is I know many of you guys know Nick Doherty. I've had him on this show. He's been on a Facebook Live video with me on our Facebook page. He has this awesome course. It's called Get Your Together in 30 Days. And it's not just for martial arts school owners. It's really for anyone that wants to do it. I would say there's mostly martial arts school owners in it and entrepreneurs right now. But basically, Nick guides you through a 30-day process of sort of getting alignment in your life between your relationships, between your personal growth, and then also your business. And the cool thing I really like about it, I'm in it right now. We actually just finished the first week of it, so we still have 3 more weeks to go. But they give you an accountability partner in the group, so you guys check in with each other via phone call or Skype at least once a week, just to keep each other focused on the same path and making sure that no one's slacking. Also, it really helps you to set up a plan for your life by starting off just by planning out your morning ritual and planning out your day, and really helps you to get on a disciplined schedule to really set yourself up for success. And I've always been someone that's been waking up early and sort of had a morning ritual. And I think it's just sort of helped enhance it even more and just make me better about staying on track with it. So you guys can go to mabusinessuniversity.com, so Martial Arts Business University. So it's, again, mabusinessuniversity.com. You can enroll in the course there. I'm not sure what the price is right now. When I enrolled, it was $149. Like I said, I'm 1 week into it and can already see it's 1,000% worth it. So definitely check that out. So thank you again to everyone for checking out our episode for today with Master Dave Kovar. If you guys have any questions, please shoot us an email at info@levelupmymusic.com. And we have some new exciting things we're going to be doing to the website also. So you guys want to check out levelupmymusic.com. Our blog will coincide with our podcast, so you'll see information on there about some of the items that we've reviewed and everything. But also we got some big exciting changes that are going to be happening throughout this summer that you guys will not want to miss out on. So definitely check it out. Thanks a lot today, guys. And I can't wait to see you guys in episode number 6.